All right, we're back. We are MAPD724. That's Advanced iOS Programming here at Centennial, and it's in the winter 2018 semester, and it's week 1, part 2 of our broadcast. I just want to talk about assignment 1 for this one, then I'll stop recording, and then we'll go on to something else. So what is this assignment 1 that I speak of? It's due, you're going to make a slot machine. That's what you're going to make, a Swift slot machine, right? So what is a slot machine for some people who've never seen one, never used one? Some people may have not. It looks like this, right? Here's your slot machine. There's going to be some images that I've kind of borrowed from the internet for this, so you can see what it looks like, right? Now, you can make an interface that looks something like this, but it's got to fit on your phone, right? And it's got to be viewable, right? And it has to have appropriate controls, like some kind of buttons make sense. I mean, maybe you could have an arm, but that means you'd have to swipe. So if you put a control on the slot machine, my expectation is the user should be intuitively be able to use it, right? So if I see an arm, I should be able to pull it or swipe it. If I see a button, I should be able to press it. Okay, so just think about this is your design, okay, that you're going to create. Now I'm going to give you some code in a bit because there's some code that I want to direct you to. Because you're not going to start from scratch, okay, on this one, because there's some problems with making a proper slot machine, right? All right, so when does it due? It's due class 3. That means not next week, but the week after, on by class time by midnight, right? So Monday, February 5th, 2018 by midnight, that's when it's due. It's worth 20% of your final grade, to be honest. So you're going to work either alone. If you really want to do this alone, you can. I don't recommend it. Not with the time frame you only have a couple weeks, right? Or up to 3 people. And the reason why I'm saying up to 3 people is because one person can work on the design of the slot machine, another person can work on the coding, the other person can test it. You guys can, kind of do pair programming on this thing. I mean, remember, think about you deploying this to the App Store, right? You need a team of a few people to do it properly, right? Because of the time frame. If it was on your own, if I had like a couple of weeks more than for a complete app, then maybe you could do it on your own. But this is something that I don't want to make it too stressful for you, right? Okay, you're going to make a slot machine game, but I'm going to give you some code, right? So the code, though, is not going to be in Swift. So this is one of the challenges. I'm going to give you code, but I want you to think about it as pseudocode. It's going to be in JavaScript, okay? You're going to take the code that's from JavaScript, and I want you to translate it to Swift. How do you do that? Well, it's very simple. It's kind of the same, right? I mean, the type of code. I'm going to show you the code in a second. All right, so what are you going to do? You're going to make 3 images, right? Because I want you to have 3 reels. So slot machines, what they have, just to go over what a slot machine is, they have these 3 reels, 1, 2, 3, right? And 3 reels are, in the old days, when the first slot machines came out, and if you actually look at what they are, just to give a bit of history. So if I say slot machine, right? And if I look it up on Wikipedia, like what's a slot machine, it tells you what they look like today in real life, but it also tells you what they used to look like, right? So notice that there's actually these wheels. There's actual wheels inside the slot machine. Hopefully they have another image like that. And the wheels, they don't have an image. But the wheels actually spin. Let's see if I can find old slot machine. Right, old slot machine, not the one that we see that here, like the ones that are like vintage. All right. So I want to see if I can find an image that makes sense to you. So notice there's an actual arm. Right now, there's arms now in other slot machines, but you can see that these images here are a big reel. It looks like a wheel, like a car wheel, right? And on the outside, there's these images, right? And the idea with the slot machine is if the images match, like you have 2 of the same or 3 of the same, then you win some kind of money. Now, the reason why it's called a slot machine is because you take a coin, like $1 back in the day, put $1 inside, and if you got 3 of the same images, you win some money back, $3. But most of the time, because like everything you do in gambling, right? Most of the time, I'm talking like maybe 60% of the time, you're going to lose. That's how the slot machines function. So they say, okay, I'm going to pay out 40% of the time, but or maybe even less. Let's say 20% of the time, but I'm going to, they're going to lose 80% of the time. So So that means I'm going to get, that's how they're going to make their money, because there's going to be slowly, people are going to put more coins inside, and you get some amount, not the whole amount, by the way, some of what's ever inside them. That's the old way of doing things. And then what happened was, as the slot machines got more sophisticated, they became digital and they became networked. So they're all networked together. All these slot machines networked together, right? And if you go to a gambling house like, Casino Niagara, or if you go to Woodbine Casino on Highway 27 and Highway 401 in that area, or Highway 27 in Rexdale in the West End, there is a little place where you can play slot machines. I'll guarantee you, if you spend your $20, you'll probably lose everything, right? But it can be fun. You can spend hours with quarter slots, playing, and for the hope you might win something back. But most of the time you'll lose everything, because that's what the machine is about. The machine is about taking your money. And the way it was called the one-armed bandit, right? Because it only has one arm. You keep pulling it. You hope that you're going to get $1 million, but you're not, right? It's just a game. So whenever you play slot machines, if you ever do, and I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not saying, hey, play slot machines now, right? I don't play slot machines either. This is just I'm just explaining where it comes from, so people who don't understand, because some people never play slot machines in their life before, or they're not interested. It's okay, but there's a great interest for slot machines, for games on as an app. Believe it or not, there are hundreds of them. If you look at the App Store, hundreds, and there's different kinds, so you can play. And it's for, some of them are for no money, some of them are for real money, right? I'm not saying that I want you to make these, but this is just an example of what you can do. Why slot machine for your assignment? Because it satisfies some requirements. One, custom graphics that you're going to use, right? The second thing is, it's a game, right? So it's got to be fun. You got to make some sounds come out. You never did sound before, maybe for your app so far. You got to figure that out. So some sounds, some graphics, some animations, and some basic things. Now, am I expecting you to do animations? The answer is no. All I expect you to do is, when you press the button, right, and it tells you what to do here. It says you need to have 3 slots or 3 reels, like they're wheels, right? And then have a default image. Maybe the default image is called spin. Maybe an image says, hey, spin me, or a blank, something like that, right? And when the user interface initially loads, right? And then the images in the reels will change every time the user presses the spin button. But the user can't press the spin button unless he puts money in the slot machine, right? That's the game. The game is give me money and I'll spin the reels. And if there's the same, you're going to get some money back, right? But we're not going to give real money. We're going to give credits or points, whatever you want to call it, right? That's the game. The images that appear in the image windows should be one of the following symbols. Like, for example, fruits. It could be, by the way, you don't have to use fruits. You can use, I don't know, if you're a Star Wars fan, I don't know, use Jedis, use different kinds of things, whatever. If you're a manga fan, use some kind of manga comics. If you're a superhero fan, use Avengers faces, right? Whatever you want to use, right? But some kind of symbols that match. And I want you to make this your own, okay? I don't want you just to go on the internet and get these ugly symbols. Make it your own. Spend some time, doing a little stuff. That's why there's 3 of you, up to 3, okay? If you really want to do this on your own, you can, but again, I don't recommend it. Okay, now you need to have a spin button. The spin button is only going to work, and it's only going to be active if the user puts some money to bet, okay? Some kind of button that resets the game. I want to reset. I want to start over. I want to have my money back. In real life, that doesn't exist. Hey, you can't reset and get your money back. Hey, I want to get my $20 back. You can't do that, right? When your $20 is gone, it's gone, right? A button that allows the user to quit the game. Okay, you can't really quit the game in iOS. What can you do? I can press it, and it'll put it to the background. That's what it'll do. It'll just hide it and then stop the game or whatever, or pause the game, okay? So you can't really quit. You don't quit applications in iOS, right? But it should take you back to the home screen. That's what the quitting does, all right? So it puts it to the background and goes to the home screen. Okay, some kind of labels. I don't know how many you need for that basically displays your money, the user's money, the jackpot amount, and the current bet. What's the jackpot? Start at, I don't know, 10,000 or some number, right? And then every time the user bets, the jackpot's going to go up, right? Let's talk about basic things, okay? And when I put the current bet, let's say I bet $5, $5 or 5 points, right? It's going to show me how much it's in there, right? And if I whatever the current bet is some kind of value is going to come back. So if I say if I have $5 or 5 points and I win 7 times my bet, I'm going to get 35 points back, right? Again, as an example, right? But if I bet 500 points, then I can lose 500 points. This is the crazy crap that goes on with slot machines, right? Or I can win all kinds of thousands back, right? 35,000 or more, 350,000, whatever, right? Depending on what kind of return is going to be on the slot machines. All right, and we'll talk about the algorithm in a second. Ensures that when the user enters a bet amount in the bet entry control. Now, the bet entry control can be different ways. You can have a series of buttons, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, 500. You can have buttons like that if you want. Or you can do some kind of flick where you kind of rotate and use a control, a flicker control to kind of change the amounts, or some kind of arrows that you can increase and decrease the amount that you want to bet. It's up to you. Okay. The program checks that he has enough money, or she has enough money. And if the user doesn't have enough money, like let's say there's 0, right? Then you have to gray out or disable the spin button. So you cannot spin unless you have money. Okay, some rules. Okay? There must be a condition that allows the player to potentially win the jackpot. Okay, that means you have to test this condition. Now, if you can only win once every 1,000, that's going to be pretty crazy, right? So make it so it's winnable. Maybe, I don't know, 1 in 450 or something. Make it so that you can test it. So you can see, okay, the user won the jackpot, right? And then later on, you can reduce it. You can make it so it's like 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 100,000 or whatever. So because the user in real life doesn't win the jackpot very often. In real life, how it works is this. You put the money in, you get some return, but there's also something else. You can also bet something else, something called a progressive. When you put an extra $1 in, you have a chance to win the jackpot for an extra $1, right? So play for $5, but put in an extra $1 for the jackpot, right? And every time you pay $5, play an extra $1 for the jackpot again, right? And then the jackpot is networked, right? So let's say you have 50 slot machines, 100 slot machines, or whatever. They're working together. And then the jackpot keeps going up like really crazy. 100,000, 200,000. You have a car, you can win, kind of crazy stuff, right? To get you to play. That's what it is. That's all. That's what it's about. Okay. Include conditions that allow the player to potentially win the jackpots. We talked about that. Reflect a jackpot win by displaying a special message. No pop-ups. I don't want a pop-up message. I don't want a modal window that comes up and says, you won, right? That's crap. Make it something else. Make it so that the screen flashes. Make it so there's a message on the screen that scrolls, something that makes sense for the device you're on, okay? You must have a slot machine graphic. So in the background, you got to find or make something that looks like a slot machine. You can find one and put it on the background. You can make one. Don't make it so that the slot machine doesn't look like a slot machine. If it looks like blocks, not a slot machine. You'll lose marks for that, okay? It's got to look like something, right, that looks like real, right, like this. Different ways to do that. And we can talk about that if you have questions around it. All right, that's this part. Okay, so all up to now, that's all functionality and user interface. Okay, now there's some internal documentation requirements. What the heck? 12 marks? 6? I think it's 12 marks. 12 marks for internal documentation. That's huge. Okay, why am I putting this in there? Because I want you to comment your code. All right, so this is a different scenario. One of the objectives of this one was show me your code. I want you to go through. I want you to understand what you've done here. Right? So there's 6 marks. It's heavy duty. One thing I saw that some people didn't do last semester is they didn't clearly put their name and their partner's name in their code anywhere. Okay, I didn't take marks off. I was telling you, right? But it was very hard for me to find who submitted something. You're working with somebody else, but I only see one person's name on it. But your name has nothing. Who did you work with? I don't know. How do I figure that out? How can I tell if you didn't put your name on it, right? So make sure you put your name when you submit your document, and I want you to put your name here in the code, in the comments, right? Contextual variable names is important. I don't want you to name your variable something weird like X's and Y's. Inline comments. This is important too, because you're going to have some inline comments in this particular case, right? Like, for example, you have some kind of decision that you're going to make. It may not be a decision tree, but you may have some kind of other things that you do. For example, your logic. How does this logic work? Show me your code. Show me an understanding of what this stuff you've written translates to, right? Okay, then I'm going to give you some marks for, and this is HTML5 and CSS. That's wrong. It should actually be Swift. But Swift and different kinds of Swift files, your UI view, as an example, any kind of other, your delegates, anything else that you use, right? I want you to make sure that your files are organized properly. All right. So some people just, put a bunch of views all together and there's no organization. You have an opportunity to create groups and other stuff. I want to see that. GitHub, again, is a must, worth 4 marks, right? I'm going over it because I will be more specific this semester than last semester. Last semester, I was like, okay, that's pretty good. Okay, yeah, that does kind of what I wanted. Yeah, that's okay. That's an A, right? Not this semester. This semester is going to be like, okay, let's take a look at this. Does it work? Can I break it? We'll try it. I'll try and break it. All right. Optional game features. The slot machine activates sound clips. Notice that it's an option. I don't expect sound. If you do it, you get bonus. Animation. Okay, so right now all I'm asking for is when you press the button, the images change. It just does one of these. Okay, there's no animation. What I really want to see though is animation, where the images kind of go down like this, and it looks like it's animated. Okay, that takes a lot of effort, right? So there's gonna be bonus points for that. How about additional reels? Right now we only have 3. Okay, now I'm only going to give you logic for 3. This is more bonus points here for this one. If you have 5, okay, that means you have to create like the different pattern in your code. So I must have 5 matching things, or 4 matching things, or 3 matching things, and I'll show you the basic code later on. The other thing is this idea of bet lines. So notice here, right, in the typical one, you have one bet line like this. Okay, it goes right across like this, but you can have a slot machine with multiple bet lines. And let me show you one. So slot machine, multiple bet lines, right? So if you notice, there's one bet line here, but what about this one? Take a look. There's one bet line here, one here, one here, one here. There's different ways of winning, right? That takes more logic, more code, more mechanics to try and figure that out, right? So I'm giving you some opportunity to challenge yourself. How are you going to challenge yourself? And you got to show the bet line somehow. You got to show the line, that one. Okay? This is pretty crazy, right? You don't want to make something crazy like that. That's like, you make a pattern, so there has to be a pattern in the winning, right? And notice these are multiple reels. There's 5 reels here, right? As an example, right? So you have some kind of pattern here. Queen, 10, king. So looks like 2 pair, almost like a slot machine that gives you cards. So you can use some kind of card logic here instead of images or whatever, right? So you can make your slot machine any way you like, but I'm going to give you some basic stuff. I'm going to give you some basic code in a second. All right, but does anyone have a problem understanding what I'm looking for? Anybody? If you have a problem, or if you don't understand something, put up your hand and I can answer it now, and I'm going to record it for you guys. All right, so again, just to reiterate, I don't expect you to gamble. Okay, I don't want you to gamble. Gambling, I'm telling you this, here's a public message, all right? Lifetime, you're going to be down. Doesn't matter how good of a gambler you are, all right? I was watching this World Series of Poker by chance. I ran across it on the weekend. I don't watch that. But my stepdad came in and he wanted to watch World Series of Poker. And there's these 2 guys. And one guy, I'm not joking around, has $20 million in front of him. And the other, 20 million. And the other guy has, I don't know, a few million or whatever. And they're betting each other. These are the top players in the world, right? The guy who has 20 million, he kept on winning. 2 million, 3 million. He kept on winning from the other guy. Then he lost everything. In one blow, he lost $30 million. I was like, oh my God, right? $30 million. That's what happens. Lifetime, most players are down. They're not up. So please, public announcement, don't gamble. All right, it's not a good thing, right? Unless you go to the, if you go to the casino and play to, you know you're going to lose your money. So take the money you're going to use and keep your credit card and your debit card at home. All right. Don't bet your house. Okay, whatever you do. Don't say like, I want to take a mortgage on my house to bet. That's a bad thing. If you get to that point, and if you want to impress somebody and spend all your money or sell your car or something crazy, leave. Don't stay in the casino. Something's wrong. All right. If you get to that point. All right. All right. So where am I getting this code? So on GitHub, I'm going to give you a link on GitHub. I'm going to put it up on Slack. On GitHub, I can go to me. I might have a repository I can point you to. That's pretty easy. Here it is. I'm going to give you this link. This is my link to GitHub. Now, I want you to show you the code for a second because this code, I'm just going to put it up on Slack here for you guys. Here's Slack General. That's the wrong one. Let's go to a real one. Where am I here? Here? No. Here. There we go. Here and General. One day when Slack updates, I'll be okay. Slack app on the watch works great, by the way. Okay. So there's the link. So take a look at that. That's the slot machine up on GitHub. Okay, so what the heck is this thing that I'm giving you anyway, right? So if you look up on GitHub, you get this. So here's JavaScript. If you go dig in here, there's a JavaScript file. Notice that there's some jQuery. Don't touch this. This is just some jQuery. Notice the age, 3 years ago, all right? And there's a challenge here. You've got some variables, and they're very inefficient, okay? I've got some player money, a start of 1,000, my winnings, my jackpot, my player bet, my win number, my loss. It keeps track of wins and losses, bars, bells, sevens, a bunch of different symbols here as an example. And then I have some code down here that when I pull my reels, right, here's the reels application, what it does is it says, hey, check the range between my outcome, between 1 and 27. Notice that there's 65 different images, right, that I kind of generate. I generate a random number between 1 and 65, right? If for the majority of them, right, anything between 1 and 27, so that's 27 reels, 27 blocks out of 65 is blank. Guess what's going to happen? Most of the time, you're going to lose, right? And it tells you 41% probability that you're going to get blanks. That means there's a very high chance you're going to get blank, blank something, or blank something, something, right? Or blank, blank, blank. Anytime you get a blank in any position, you lose. Okay? Then look at this one. I say, and then I'll give you the code in a second. If it's grapes, right? Anything between 28 and 37, which is a 15% probability, you're going to get a grape. Okay? So this is the way you generate the kind of symbol that you're going to get. And you can use your own. If you don't like grapes or bananas or oranges, you can make your own. Like I said, whatever it is. And then you're going to see what the winnings are. So for example, if I don't have any blanks, if my blanks are 0, because I count how many blanks I have, right? By the way, this is the cheesiest, stupidest code. You can also do a search because this is going to generate a string of numbers. And I'm going to show you the numbers in a second, right? Because I'm actually going to download this application for you, right? You should download it and test it yourself. But this is not the only way you can write this. I wrote it simple because, you know what? I didn't want people to use regular expressions or something to check the line, because you can check the line with regular expressions and you can see how many grapes, how many of those things you get, and then you can do the same thing without counting. Here I'm counting how many grapes, how many bananas, how many oranges did I get, right? With no blanks. If I have no blanks and I have 3 grapes, I get 10 times my winning back. So I kind of give a lot of money back this time. Okay, 10 times. If I have 3 bananas, I get 20 times, right? If I do sevens are the big one, right? You get 100 times, right? So if it's 3 sevens, you get 100 times whatever you bet. If I bet 500, I'm going to get 50,000 back, right? Okay, makes sense? So that's how it works. 550,000 is all right? Yes, I'll be okay. And so on, and it kind of goes down from there. So let's download this thing and see what it does. Let's actually try it out. This is just going to be a text file with a little bit of code. And by the way, challenge for you guys. You can do this in Android. You can make it on the web. right? And once you have an app that works on all three platforms, you're good to go, right? So let's download the zip. I'm going to put it up on my desktop. So I'm going to put it on my desktop here. This is my slot machine. Now, I haven't touched this code for a long time, right? So check it for errors, check it for problems, because this is your example code. Imagine your customer says, hey, I got this old application. It's a web app. I want you to make it into an application, a real one, a real application. This is the challenge, okay? Here's my slot machine. Here it is. And let's see how this thing works. I'm going to go in here. And what I'm going to do is there's no, now this is a Visual Studio app, right? It's a Visual Studio app, and I'm just going to run it. I'm just going to kind of go in here, and I have Visual Studio for for Mac. And hopefully I'll be able to run this thing, no problem. Let's take a look. One day when it comes up. And if not, I'll just drag and drop it into Visual Studio Code in a second. All right, let's see if it actually loads on the Mac. There we go. There's my code. And if I run it, I should be able to get a web page that gives me the slot machine, right? Notice my bet right now, if you notice, is 10. And if I click spin, I get banana, orange, banana. Right? And if I spin again, I get blank, blank grapes. And if I keep spinning, you can see that it keeps track of the win ratio. I don't care about this. This is for you. Don't show me your stats. The stats are for your own purposes, right? I'm just showing you what it works out to be for wins and losses. Notice the win ratio is quite high, but I've only played 12 times, right? And if I keep playing, let's take a look at my win ratio now, right? It should be eventually under 20%. That means 80% of the time, eventually, you should be losing after many, many, many spins. And you can see my money, right? Here's my money, 680. I started off with 1,000, and I'm only spending 10. Now, what if I up this to 50, right? I don't want your user to type in 50. It's got to be some kind of control, a spinner, some kind of button, whatever you're going to put in, right? Spin, spin, spin. And now you can see if I can win big and I can lose big. Notice my win ratio now. Oh, whoa. What happened? I lost all my money. Oh, man. Right? That's terrible. I want to reset. So this is where I want you to put the reset button in place so I can reset the game, right? There is no reset button right now, but if I refresh, I should be able to reset my money, right? And if I put a larger amount, I start off with like $1,000. If I bet 100 at once, right, as an example, you can see that either I win big or I lose very quickly, right? Like as in I have no money left right now. Didn't take long. The more money you bet, here's another rule of gambling, right? More money you bet, the more money you're going to lose. I know it sounds crazy. Like you might say, no, you're wrong, Tom. No, it's true. I just proved it to you, right? More money you bet, the faster you'll lose your money, right? In this kind of game. I'm not going to tell you which games are better to gamble. That's not what that would go against my public service announcement, okay? But don't gamble. But the idea here is this is a game. And it's not just a game. I want you to have fun with this one, okay? But because there's mechanics involved, there's logic, okay? It's not a banking application. You're not making, putting money into an account, all right, and moving things around, okay? Eventually, we can use this slot machine for a lot of different things. For example, what about basic networking? I want to network my slot machine. I want you to create a network amongst yourselves, a peer-to-peer network, so you keep track of the jackpot. How do we do that? We can use something like Firebase. I talked about this last semester, right? We put up I create a file, a database on Firebase that keeps track of the jackpot. And all of you are linked to it. Not now. We'll do an exercise like this when you're done your slot machine, right? And that means that when you play, you can get money from the slot machine or from the jackpot or feed the jackpot. All of you together. You can all play on your own machines, right? And there's other things you can do as well. So I want you to think about this. It's not a difficult assignment. Not really, right? But one of the challenges, so there's a few challenges. One, make your user interface. So next week, what am I going to ask you for? It's going to be a little lab for your user interface. I want to see a couple of A, B. Give me two user interfaces. User interface A, user interface B. So whoever's working with you Show me 2 user interfaces next week. It's coming. Lab 1, all right? And then after next week, right, I want you to think about this, right? Someone has to decode this stuff. Someone has got to look at the JavaScript and say, okay, how do I take this JavaScript code and make it work, right? That's number 2. So you've got your user interface and you've got your, you know, this stuff here. And there's internal documentation and a bunch of other stuff. So by the following week, then you should be good. You know, you should be done, okay? So please don't leave this. This looks like an easy assignment, but it can really bite you where it hurts, okay? Why? Because it's worth 20% of your final grade, because there's a lot of little learnings in this one, okay? There's some things you can drag and drop, some things, but there's a lot of stuff you're going to have to do programmatically. And it's a great little code to get you guys, your mind spinning again, right, for this semester. Because if I leave it, right, you guys are going to forget Swift. And if I give you something like this later on, right, it'll be harder. I'm not going to just do games this semester, but there's going to be at least a couple of them. This is one. Okay? Any questions? All right, you've got your stuff. I'm going to stop recording this one. Now you got a question? Okay, go. Tell me.
Is there a converter from JavaScript to Swift?
Hell no. You're the converter. That's you. You're the converter, right? You're the converter right there, right? There's no converter, right? And besides, it doesn't make any sense because JavaScript actually prints out on HTML, right? That doesn't make any sense. Your user interface right now is a basic HTML page, right? That's what it is. So you don't want that. You want something more interesting. Okay, so yeah, let's stop recording this now and we'll get back with the next part of our presentation today.